Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing a lovely, lovely woman who I'm so happy you're going to get to know here on the podcast. Her name is Manju Joshi, and she and her husband Prashant, who you may remember was on our podcast earlier talking about leadership, they have a wonderful yoga center in Austin, Texas, with all sorts of different events, from yoga therapy to laughter therapy to Reiki, aromatherapy, holistic nutrition, corporate wellness. They're doing it all. And the topic of today is, I'm going to title it, Love is the Way Home and a Journey Through the Chakras. And Manju really wanted to demystify and simplify the information about the chakras from the ancient texts like the Shiva Samhita. And I think she did. I took a lot of notes that I'll be meditating on. It seems like a lot of information, but the way she gave it to us or shared with us, it did break it down to simplicity. And I really appreciate that. And even before we got online, I said, I'm so happy you're going to be teaching us today. And she said, I will not be teaching you. I will be sharing with you. And number one, she's such a humble woman to not take ownership of the teachings. But also, I think that's really important for all of us to think about, that maybe we are just sharing these ideas from the ancient texts, from ancient India, the ideas that have been passed down for generations of teachers and students and families and cultures, and that nothing is new. You know, this whole idea of branding, of course, we do it to get our message out so that we can help people. But in the back of our minds, we should always be thinking that we are not creating anything new. We're sharing ideas in a way that is kind of coming through us in a unique way, and that's okay. But we can't take ownership of it. And in fact, as Priya Verma has taught me so beautifully in some of our lectures for the Optimal State Yoga Therapy School, she teaches history of yoga, cultural appropriation in yoga. She says we're stewards of these teachings. We're stewards. We don't have ownership. We are here to take them, cherish them. They are sacred, not make them ours and sell them and commodify them, but rather to steward them forward to the next generation, to be of service and to help those that are coming after us that are suffering. And so when I was talking to Manju today, that's really the sense that I got. And it was a beautiful conversation. So I hope you enjoy it. And I think I'm going to give the Best of Humanity award this week to Manju for saying that I'm not teaching, I'm sharing. That idea of stewardship, not ownership. So thank you, Manju, and thank you, Priya. Let's give Priya the Best of Humanity award also for that idea that I hope we'll all take to heart. And remember, if you have someone or something that has done or said or acted in a way that you feel is in alignment with the best of humanity, please contact us so that we can highlight them on the show briefly. Welcome to the Yoga Therapy Hour podcast. My name is Amy Wheeler, and I'm your host. We are so happy to tell you all that's happening in the world of yoga therapy. And we love to find guests from all over the world so that we can share and learn and grow together. Please nourish yourself, take time for yourself, and really relax into listening to the podcast. Welcome, Manju Joshi. We are so happy to have you here today. Thank you for coming from Austin, Texas.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, for inviting.
We have such a wonderful topic today that I laid awake in bed last night thinking about, I wonder what she's going to say. We're going to talk today about the chakras as kind of a model for healing in yoga therapy. But I understand part of your mission is to demystify the chakras. So tell us what that means to you.
Well, first of all, thank you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, all of you. We always go back to the origin when we are studying or doing any research in yoga and so on. So when I first started talking or thinking about chakras and all, I mean, what are those? Why do we even have that system in yoga, right? So that's where I started paying more attention to it. I studied yoga as my master's program, and we did have certain texts like Shiva Samhita, and they describe chakras in detail. But that time, I was a young 20-year-old something, and studied it as an academic thing, not as, like any deeper meaning or spiritual or anything. But when I started taking more in-depth studies in yoga, or even I started doing the Reiki training, and that's where it really, really happened that the power of these chakras, they really are more prominent in those systems like the Reiki healing and those kind of things. So that's where I started doing more research into it. And then, there is a lot of mystery around these chakras, so to speak, right? Oh my goodness. So it is like something yogis do or the Reiki people do or this or that. It has nothing to do with a common person. Something like that always comes up. And that's where I started doing more, research into it, experimenting on myself, on my clients, and even within our family, we started experimenting with each other. And that's how the journey started. I cannot claim that I totally demystified it, but the journey started. That's when I started doing more of Reiki and other things. Yeah.
I love that you're differentiating between your master's degree and kind of that academic approach versus the experiential sensations, feelings, and effects inside of you, your family members, your colleagues. I think there's a big gap there, meaning a lot of times the researchers feel kind of elite because they're reading the ancient Sanskrit texts like the Shiva Samhita. And in my experience as a yoga therapist and just in my own body, that theory doesn't always translate perfectly into our experience.
Which is absolutely true. Like I said, I can read Bhagavad Gita as, we did that as, again, academic thing. We just read it because we had to give exam on that, right? I mean, that time our consciousness was not developed as much, which after the experience, you get into it in more depth, kind of. Same thing happened when I was studying osteopathy, because it is related to yoga, right? The studying of the spine. And I love biology, I love to study about human body and so on. But even in that, because I did not do osteopathy as a youngster, I did it later in my life where I had more experience with yoga. And when we see that, like, oh, there are plexuses, like the nerves coming together, like solar plexus, everybody knows about it, right? There are solar plexus, meaning there are a bunch of nerves come together and they form plexus and they serve certain area of our body. And because I had background in chakras also, it is such an intricate system. Like the solar plexus, for example, have 5 nerves, they come together. Okay, and they bifurcate and they become 10. And the symbol for the solar plexus chakra, which is a Manipur chakra, there are 10 petals for that particular chakra. And when I started, like putting those together, it's like you asked about demystifying. That's how the process started. Like, wow, how did the yogis know that there are these 5 big nerves come together? The first chakra, which is the, we will talk more about that, but I'm just giving you an example. The first chakra is our Muladhara chakra. It is always represented by certain petals. Okay, each chakra is represented by certain petals. So the first chakra is like it represented by 4 petals, and it's a coccygeal plexus where 2 major nerves come together, they bifurcate, and they become 4.
Wow.
I mean, It just so amazing. And why is that? And then, other than the physical aspect, what would be the emotional aspect? What would be the diseases associated with it? And what is separating us from having the beautiful experience of life?
I want to hold that note. What is separating us from the beautiful experience of life? Let's hold that thought. But I want to go back and also say that, the ancient yogis and Ayurvedic doctors, they did autopsies. They knew about the gross manifestation of physical nerves in the body. But unlike Western science today, they also knew that there were much more subtle forms of energy, right? So they didn't dismiss one or the other like we kind of do in allopathic medicine. They said it's both. Here's the gross form of it, the four nerves, or the two nerves that have, split into four. And there's these subtle energies that are manifest in this nerve center also.
It's true. Very, very true. And that's why we have a concept of three bodies, right? The causal body, the subtle body, and the physical body. And they each affect each other, basically. They are not separate from each other, but they are part of our existence. And then we have panchakoshas, right? The 5 sheets of existence, right? From the physical body, which is called Annamaya Kosha, up to the Anandamaya Kosha, which is a bliss body. And if the bliss body is affected by your physical body and vice versa. So it is not separate. But the thing is, they even put that, like, first of all, let's go back to even the word yog, right? Yog, that we all use it as yoga because, we want to extend that sound. But the real word is yog, right? In Sanskrit. We all know the definition. We all know the meaning. Yoga means union, right? Uniting, yoking. So the first thing that we as yogis or anybody who is taking up this yoga practice, we have to ask, what are we uniting? What are we separated from in the first place, right? And then there is a lot of discussion in yoga text, in Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, and they all tell us it is the source that we are separated from. And then they tell us, not in a very like a subtle language, actually it is everywhere. They all say that love is the source. The pure love, the divine love is the source. And since we are separated from that, our physical existence suffers. When we talk about Jesus Christ or Indian sages or saints and all, they are always in love. They dwell in love. So that's why they are able to forgive so quickly. They are able to perform so many miracles and all. So there is no mystery, it is the only separation from the love. And that's where these chakra system also comes in, because that is the human energy system, right? The modern term we can give to chakras is human energy system.
This is a really key point that I want to understand, and I think our listeners will too. Love has so many definitions out there. When you say love, what does that mean according to the ancient text that you're referring to?
It's a simple question, and it's a deep question.
It is. We could spend the rest of the hour on that one, right?
Yeah. So what we are referring to is the pure divine love, where there is no expectation. There is, even if we think of at, like, say, physical level or in the 3D world, when we love something, like suppose, I have 2 kids. When they were born, and when I looked at them when they were first born, there was just that pure love. I did not expect them to be in a certain way at that time, right? It was just the joy of them being in my life. So that is the closest that we can think of. If you really want that child, and if you're really waiting for that child to be born and so on. So that is the different thing. But when you see that child for the first time, and what comes in your mind is pure love. There is no expectation, right? So that is the closest we can say. But all the sages and the saints and even Jesus Christ says that amplify that like 1,000 times, thousands and thousands of times. We can't even imagine what is that. But we are that. But because we are in this physical existence, we forget that. And I'm not preaching this in some, preachy way. It is just written like that. And all we are trying to do as yoga practitioners is trying to reconnect to that love.
May I ask another question? These are things that I've contemplated for a long time. And one of my teachers said, well, love kind of falls in the kapha category, if you want to categorize it, and that sattva is different. And so,
well, we are categorizing it and we are compartmentalizing it. It is beyond that. That which is beyond all the attributes is the pure love.
Beautiful. Okay. Now we can move on. As we get separated from this source, what we've established is pure love that is unimaginable to us, that is divine, and there's no expectation, and it's just pure joy. Tell us about how the chakras link up to being separated from that source.
Okay, so what our yogis did is, now if I say, oh, we are all pure love and we are all separated from it, and all we have to do is go back to it. Okay, it's very simple. The human brain cannot actually comprehend simple thing. We want it to be complicated, like, oh, I know all these things, but I'm suffering and I'm this and I'm that and all those things. So the yogis are very intelligent and also very funny in that sense, like, okay, you want complicated, we'll give you complicated. I
like that.
So it's a very simple system. Again, we call it as human energy system, and there are a lot of energy centers in our body, but to simplify it again, the yoga says there are 7 major chakras, energy centers basically. Chakra is a wheel. Chakaram karoti iti chakram. So that which moves, that which rotates is called chakra. So the life cycle keeps on rotating, right? Sometimes we experience joy, sometimes we experience not so much of joy, and so on. So it continuously moves, rotates kind of. And because of that, we get some experiences in life, right? If something pleasurable happens to us, we are happy, otherwise we are not, and so on. And they also created it in a certain way, like, so these are the steps of consciousness. These are called the layers of consciousness. So the first energy center, so we all come in this world with perfect knowledge that we are separating from the love, right? Energy system. And we experience that as soon as we are born, at very physical level. We are already separated from the source when we are in mother's womb. But our first experience is when we are separated from the mother's womb, right? And that's very traumatic. When people say, oh, I have this trauma or that trauma. Well, we all have trauma, right? Since we are born, right? And then we try to connect back to our source by connecting with our mother, father, trying to connect with our mother, father, our tribe, right? The religion that we are born into, and the country that we are born into, and so on. So that's our basic thing. And that's where the first energy center starts, at the base of the spine. So the energy that goes in us becomes dormant in that particular energy center. It is called Mooladhar. Okay. Moola means root and Adhara is support. So it's a root or it's a support for our existence. So as soon as we are born, if we are treated well, by our parents, by the community and so on, we somewhat kind of settle down in that area. But for some reason, even if we perceive, our perception is that, oh, I'm not accepted, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not beautiful enough, whatever it is, that perception can create that separation very quickly. And what happens? We are away from love. When we are in love, we are trusting, we are basically doing things together. There are a lot of beautiful things happen when we are in love. Right, it's energy. But when we are not in love, right, when we are separated, we have fear, we have anxiety, we have separation issues, phobias, and all kinds of things happen. And remember where it is located. It is at the base of the spine, it's called the perineum area. Okay. There are 2 elimination points there, right? So if we are not very secure in that area, physically there could be elimination problems, like urinary tract infections can happen, constipation can happen, or even diarrhea can happen, and all those things. So these are very simple things to understand. The yogis understood all these issues, and the nerves, they serve that area. They also serve our legs and feet, the lower extremities. If we are not secure, remember what happens when we are afraid. Your feet starts getting wobbly, right? The first thing that happens is we eliminate excess water or feet, whatever it is, because we are ready to run kind of from the situation, right? So those are the nerves there, and that's what the issues they come up with the first chakra also. Now, each chakra, it is very thoughtful. It is very actually unique also about chakra system is it has given 5 elements. For 5 chakras, 5 elements. And the reason, I'll come to that also. And each chakra is represented by lotus petals. Okay. Lotus is, if you see a lotus, it always grows in muddy water. And then it goes towards the sun, right? And it's beautiful. So similarly, that's why lotus is very much of importance in yogic traditions or even Buddhism and everywhere. So we have that potential to, even though we are born in this muddy samsara, whatever we call it, the world, we have potential to grow and achieve our higher state or, our potential. So the 4 petals are given to that particular chakra, the Mooladhar, and each chakra has a bija mantra, meaning the seed sound. All the yoga system is based on this chakra system. All the asana. Why do we have asanas? Why can't we just sit and meditate, right? Why do we have so many asanas? So what we understood from the chakra system is the first thing that happens for humans is we disassociated with our body. We kind of try to run away from the situation, and we are not very much in tune with the body. Right? A lot of our students, they told us that when they practice yoga, they feel that they came back to the body. It's a connection right away. So there are grounding poses where a person can feel grounding, like just standing tall in a Tadasana, the tree pose. That itself gives you that feeling of stability. So there are poses to bring us back to our body.
I love that.
And it has to be done in a And it's like a prescription, like we are doing yoga therapy. Come on, it's a prescription. Patanjali systematized everything, right? In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And he says, sthira sukham asanam, right? That which is sthira, which is stable, and sukham, pleasurable. So whatever you do, the final position must be stable and it should be pleasurable for you. Okay, whichever position you do. And that brings you grounding. That brings you back to your body, right?
I love this, Manju. May I ask a question? You just touched on it, and then you went on to the next really interesting point that you were making. But I want to go back to this idea that you said that when we're born, we're separated from our source. Is it possible that even before we are born, even before we're conceived, due to our karma or our genetics or whatever you want to, label it, that we could already be having some separation? Meaning, there people that come in with a little more separation than others, or are you saying it happens with those earliest childhood experiences?
I did only that because, it is easier to understand the separation part. If we go into too much esoteric, maybe people will not understand, or they say, oh, it is all mumbo jumbo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Okay. You don't have to go into it. Just having you say that opens a door for someone that if they wanted to go look at it in that way, they could.
Yes. Yeah. That's why there is like Akashic records and all those concepts are there, right? So of course, as soon as we enter the physical realm, in whichever form, we are separate.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So how about we go on to the second chakra?
Sure. So that first chakra, I just want to finish that. So the element is earth for that. And the color is red for that particular chakra. And then there is a bija mantra, which is called Lam. And all the petals also have their own bija mantras. I just want to touch upon that. So we talked about the postures that connects us to the body. Then we have the breathing techniques, which connect us to the mind and body together, right? As soon as we take a deep breath, we feel more connection and all those things. So that is another prescription that we have. Then there are mantras, because there are a lot of nerves, they get vibrated by the mantras. So that's kind of a hack, that is given by our yogis. So say you don't have much time today to do anything, but you just do the mantras, you can come back to your steady state, so to speak. Yeah. You don't have to do asanas too much or this or that. But I just wanted to touch base upon that. So the mantra is Lam, 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 Lam. If you say Lam, automatically your pelvis get contracted. And it's a signal that, okay, you need to hold on to your horses, so to speak, so that the energy can start rising up, right? So the second chakra is about just that seed of creativity. First we are talking about our connection with our family, the tribe and all. Now you start growing more into outside of your tribe. Like you try to make friends and you try to express yourself and all those things. Again, if you are away from the source, meaning if you are being criticized or not accepted, you feel that separation. You feel that anxiety. And then there are other issues start coming up. You become aware of your sexuality, whether you are happy as a man or a woman or whatever, that kind of a thing comes in. So that is about the second chakra. And the petals, there are 6. And the bija mantra is Vam. Vam. Element there is water. Very flowy, It's again a signal that life must flow. It cannot be staying at one place. It has to flow. So that is the message there. If that doesn't happen, we are away from our source, away from love, then other issues start coming up, like hurtful thoughts come in our mind. We are not able to express well. That blocks us, those kind of things.
Like communication blocks to kind of
Well, it starts from there.
Right.
Communication blocks start from there, basically. Yeah. So we try to shun ourselves because we are being criticized, So all those things come, and also it is related to our sexual organs. So, some sexual problems also can arise from that area. Basically, we are not expressing ourselves properly. That's what happens. Again, come back to your asana practice, come back to your breath work. You can send the breath to that. The mantra Soham, you probably have heard of that. So you take a deep breath and bring that hum kind of sound to your navel area. That's called the hara area also, right? So it's called swadhishtan. It's the seat of yourself. Your self begins from there. Expressing of your soul begins from there, basically. If you are connected to the source, like all these rishis and sages, they know why they came in this world. But if we are not, then we are constantly searching for our purpose. Beautiful. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Love that.
Yeah. So that's what happens in the second chakra. Then, and the color there is orange. Mm-hmm. So, these are not random colors. These are the colors of the spectrum. But in yoga texts, there are different colors for the chakras. But to simplify, the modern chakra system has accepted these colors of the rainbow. So
I think that's important to note, right? That when you actually look at the ancient texts and the yantras that go with each one, they're not these colors.
No, they are different because that's how they perceive, or they probably have seen the energy in that center.
Right.
Okay. So that's why they are different.
Why did we just start going with the colors of the rainbow? Do you have any idea why we went to that?
Well, they just did that because of the frequency. So the color red has the lowest frequency, and the first chakra has the lowest frequency. That which attracts very quickly. During the holiday times and all, you see the advertisement with a lot of people wearing red and all those things, right? So it gets your attention gets attracted, or your attention goes to that very quickly. Or it's also a danger, like the red light, right? It's a survival thing too. Mm-hmm. So that's why the orange is a little bit more subtler than the red one, and so on. That's why.
Wonderful.
So,
all right. Moving on to, I think, third.
Yeah. So third is like, so the navel chakra, the first chakra is at the base of the spine. Second is around your navel, that whole area. You don't have to have a specific location, because when you start getting into the meditations, you can feel it. But in general, it is around the navel, few inches around the navel, the second chakra. Then the third chakra is above the navel, but below the rib cage. Okay, so that pit of the gut, so to speak, So that's where the third chakra is located according to the tradition. And it is called Manipur, the brilliant jewel, the city of jewels, so to speak, That's where our immune system is located, the digestive system is located, all kinds of things are controlled in that area. So it's really a jewel of our systems, basically. Again, the petals there are 10, and mantra is Ram, which is the mantra for the fire sun. And the element there is fire. And again, it has also, everything is related to the element. So fire is related to seeing, water is related to tasting, earth is related to smelling. So you can see how it works. Like some people have strong sense of smell. They are very much attached to the first chakra, they are like that. Some people, you see in the young children also, right? That first they smell something and then they put it in the mouth. Mm-hmm. Right? So because that's our first instinct. So the third one is fire, and it is related to seeing. And that's where your gut feeling, that intuition, that also starts. Now you are out of your kind of comfort zone and in the world expressing yourself. So your self-esteem comes in play there. It's also related to how you control your emotions, your anger, the narcissism, and all those things come there. If fire is contained, it is very useful thing, right? We can cook, we can heat our homes and all those things. But if it is out of control, you being in California, you know what happens. So same thing happens with our own internal fire, right? Ayurveda based on the fire theory, right? If the digestive fire is good and properly working, life is good. If it goes out of control or if it is diminished, all kinds of diseases happen.
So when you say brilliant jewel, is that brilliant jewel referring to the fire, or is that referring
fire? Yeah, the sun or fire and that kind of a thing, So that is the thing about the third chakra. And it's also fire motivates you, right? The sun, as soon as the sun comes, everything starts getting moving. So it is also your energy. The third chakra is also related to your energy. So if you have less fire in you, you have less energy. The more fire, you will burn yourself. A lot of excess fire, go kind of a thing. So just to have enough, that's why you need more meditations and all those things here. So
can you talk a tiny bit more about how that's all connected to self-esteem? Is it that if you have the correct amount of fire, not too much or too little, you will have the correct amount of self-esteem or ego?
Basically, see, again, it is all related to the separation. If we have enough love for ourselves, less ego there is, because we know we are connected to the source. But for any reason, people keep doubting you and bringing you down, and all your life, you were being told that you're not good enough, or we ourselves also tell us, continuously that, oh, I need to improve more, I need to do this. All these things can bring that separation from the source, and we have less kind of energy or self-esteem. Opposite of that is, again, we are separated from love, and we are trying to get it from outer sources. So people become more aggressive, that because they don't have it in themselves, they become more aggressive. Actually, everything is related to your low self-esteem. Even if you are a narcissist, you have low self-esteem. That's why you are trying to prove, right? That, oh, I am like good enough. I am this, that, the anger is also a part of having low self-esteem. Because you are trying to express yourself in an aggressive way, or trying to control other people, and that kind of a thing. So that's why having the right fire in you is very much important. I think, does that make sense?
Very much so. Very much so.
So it's all psychology too, right? It's all psychology. It's so brilliant that, they have developed this system.
Some people say that the chakras, there actually is not a physical manifestation of these subtle energies, that this is metaphorical. And when you brought up psychology, it made me think of that. Do you see them as metaphors for psychological exploration, or do you see them as literal energies in the body, or both?
Both. Because you cannot separate that, right? Suppose you are sad, your digestion stops.
Yeah.
So how can you separate them?
It's
of course,
subtle,
they are
subtle to gross.
Yes, yeah. So they are from. So the manifestation happens in the physical body, but the source is somewhere else, right? Any disease that starts, it doesn't have the source first in the body, unless there is, like a physical, like you get into the accident and something happens. But the chronic illnesses and all, they have the root is somewhere else, right? So yeah. Great questions, Amy. We are having fun.
If I get an expert on the chakras on my show, I'm going to go for it and ask all the questions.
No, I'm not saying I'm
head.
an expert. I just love it. That's it. It's so interesting. Like it has nothing to do with being expert or anything. that's what it is.
Isn't being an expert the act of loving something for a long period of time and being close to it? And, like, I'm not saying you have to have a PhD from some great university in the chakras. That's fine. But I can tell that you have contemplated this for a long time, both academically, but also experientially. And to me, that makes you an expert, even if
thank you.
Humble to accept.
Well, that's the experience makes it kind of more fun, rather than just knowing about it or whatever it is, right? So, I mean, sugar you have to taste. And once you taste it, you can't forget it. Yeah. So that's what it is. So, anyway, so these are the first three chakras are called our survival centers. Mm-hmm. They keep us in the survival mode, and they are very important, right? If we are not aware that, we are separate from the source, from the love, and we just want to live in this world and experience whatever it is, and that's fine. We don't want to go beyond our survival thing. We come in the body, live the life, whatever it is given to us. We don't create really, but it is given to us when we are living in the survival centers. Because there is no energy to create more. Everything is, the source energy is all consumed by just living day-to-day life.
Right.
But when we move to the heart center, and heart, if we just keep tapping on it, sometimes we need that reminder that there is love here. And if we keep tapping on the heart center time to time, we can bring our attention to that center. That's the easiest way to do it, right? Just keep tapping just below your collarbone. It's a thymus gland area, and it has a physical benefit of having good immunity and all those things too, right? So like this. So this heart center, it's considered as the center of all the centers. So there are 3 centers below heart and 3 centers above heart. And I am sure you know the word for heart in Sanskrit is Hridayam. Okay, so it's called Hridaya Chakra, Hridayam. And in Sanskrit, no letter is kind of wasted. So Hridayam, Ru means to take. Da means to give. And Yam meaning to circulate. So we get the energy from one. That's the function of the heart, right? We receive from one side, then it gets purified in your lungs, and then it is circulated back again in the body. That's what the function of the heart. The blood is being circulated like that. So what the heart chakra also says is that you get the experiences from your life. You don't have to accept as they are. You can purify them. Mm-hmm. And what purifies is the love, right? And then you can circulate those in your life. So you can remove the garbage and do the purification and live in that purified state, basically. Yeah. So that's what the heart chakra says. And some people just give, right? Some people are like, they are the first one to volunteer everywhere and do things. And so what they are doing is they are not taking enough, but giving more. And they deplete that energy. They are still away from the source. Some people take more and give less. That's also not right? So again, there is always a balance of everything. So in order to give, you must receive. And that's what most of the people, especially us, the women, we forget. Right? And when somebody says, oh, she's such a wonderful person, she's always giving, she's always doing nice things for everybody, why did she get the breast cancer? That's exactly the reason she got the breast cancer. Because breasts are related to giving.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So it's all depleted. and the Cancer is telling her is to pay attention.
And to receive some.
To receive, exactly. So that is the function of the heart chakra. Receive, give, have a balance. And the mantra for that particular chakra is also yam, the circulation mantra. Yam, 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 kind of. Petals there are 12. The color is either pink or pleasant green, And even if you wear those kind of clothes, you can get those emotions in you. So that is also another way to do your therapy. Like some people, some people just wear black. Some people wear just like red continuously. That shows that they are dwelling in their own mind very much, that they are not connecting with other energies, basically. So that kind of a thing. So that is that's about heart. And what happens when we love somebody or something, right? We pay attention to that. We pay attention. Like, I have a teenager. If she doesn't want to, she may be like listening to what we are saying, but she has earbuds, those things in her ears, and okay, whatever, kind of. So, I mean, not that she doesn't love, but, she's not paying attention. And our energy system knows whether we are paying attention or not, right? So the best way to bring them in balance or whatever it is, to pay attention, to focus on each energy center at least for a few seconds, few minutes, as much as we can, and understand what is going on in that area. So if we pay attention to our heart, we know what is going on there. I'm sure you have seen a lot of people doing a lot of heart opening poses and all that. Physically, actually, it opens the heart. We had one person who was taking 500 level training from us, and she refused to do the heart opening poses, like the camel pose. And we would say, why would you not do it? And she said, no, I won't do it. I said, you are becoming a teacher. You have to show other people. And once she did it, and she burst into crying.
Yeah.
And you probably have seen it all the time, right? So it has some meaning. Like we really, accumulate that energy there. And as soon as we pay attention, it starts releasing whatever it is.
These stories you're telling me are with, your teenagers and even student and teacher relationships as we're going through trainings. A certain amount of boundaries are needed to keep people safe. How does that work into the heart chakra, connection to source? And
that actually boundaries start from the first chakra. Even when we love somebody, we know our boundaries, right? We don't do things. It is so brilliant. I'm telling you, it just amazes me all the time that Patanjali Yoga Sutras, we have yamas and niyamas.
Right.
Right. So those are the boundaries. That's where we have to, we need to be kind to each other, like ahimsa, then the satya, being truthful, not stealing from each other, and those kind of things. Like those are the yamas, and then there are niyamas. All those things are for boundaries, keeping the boundaries while we are loving.
Yeah.
Because respecting each other that way, right? Not taking anybody for granted and those kind of things. That's why please and thank you still matter. Like Prashant, my husband, always says that it is still about please and thank yous. Life is still about please and thank yous, So that's where we have to be very careful, not crossing those boundaries.
Beautiful. All right, let's go to the fifth chakra.
That's my favorite because that's where I lacked right from the beginning. The throat chakra is all about communication. The seed that is being sowed in the second chakra, the expression, right? Your creativity. that gets manifested through the heart's desire in the fifth chakra. Okay, so the fifth chakra is called Vishuddha, meaning pure. The heart chakra, the Hridaya chakra, is called Anahat, which means unstruck. Once you go in the heart, you may start hearing sounds. Those are not created by anything else outside. Those are from within. Ahat means stuck. Like if you want to create any sound, you have to have two things coming together, right? At least two things coming together. So when the energy reaches in the heart, you don't need any outside source. It comes from within. And then Vishuddha is pure. So the purity, nobody has to tell you that you need to be pure, you need to be this, that comes from the throat chakra. It is beautiful. And the sounds, rather the petals there are 16, and all the Sanskrit vowels are situated in the throat petals. Those 16 vowels of the Sanskrit, they are situated in the throat chakra. So the sound, the mantras and everything comes from your throat energy center, the purity of it. So people who can express themselves well, they are automatically start connecting with the source. Any which way you take any art, like poetry, right? If you're connecting to your words, you're connecting to the source. The music, if you are drawing something, you are expressing yourself, you are expressing your love, you're expressing your connection to the source. And many a times it happens in the trance. People who write beautiful things and all, it usually, when they reread it, or when they go back to what they have done, creating music, or they say, I don't think I can create that. It came from somewhere else. So it comes from the source, So that's what the throat chakra is. People who can't express themselves well and all, they're always stuck. They're always clearing their throat. I'm talking too much right now. That's another hazard of that particular chakra. Like people talk too much, or they don't talk at all. They express it in a wrong way, like they want to express something, but the words, they don't come out right, and all those things, right? That can happen. And the thyroid and parathyroid gland is situated in this area. So many people who are not able to express well, which is most of the society now, we see like almost like pandemic of thyroid problem.
Yeah. Say chanting is the best way to work with this one?
Yeah, mantras is beautiful, but also allowing yourself to explore your creative side is also a way to, enhance the energy of this chakra, basically. Wearing blue, the color for this is blue, like a sky blue or like an ocean blue kind of. For the longest time, I did not like the blue color. I would never wear blue clothing or anything. And when I started studying the chakras, I realized why, because my throat was closed. Not that it is open now, but I can tolerate blue. I can wear blue.
I need to tell you, when we got on the call and you showed up expressing yourself today, being passionate, I was surprised because I've always known you as a very, very, what I perceive to be shy person. Usually Prashant does more of the talking and you're quietly near him supporting. And I am just so pleased to see your radiance and your expression today. It's really thrilling for me. So
thank you. Well, if it is my passion, I talk. Otherwise, I can sit hours without talking to anybody. So that's we
found the right topic then.
So and Prashant always, he likes to talk more because he's more into like marketing and communication and all those, like, the worldly things, which is okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I prefer.
Yeah, it's not a critique of either one of you, but I'm just experiencing you differently.
Yeah, no, you are right. You're right. It's a good observation. So he does talking for me many a times, which is fine, So, but then moving on to the sixth chakra, which is another important one. It's called Ajna, meaning command. It is located between your eyebrows. Behind it is the pineal gland. That's kind of a thing there. And pineal gland is considered as third eye. It has the receptors and all those things there. So when you focus on that particular energy center, you can start seeing different colors and you perceive different things. And there are antennas on the pineal gland. They are receptors. They can receive information from the universe. And that's why when people say, oh, my third eye is open and all, that means they are able to receive information from the other realms, and they can communicate with other energies. So that's what it is.
Intuition.
And
like intuition or telepathy.
Yes. That doesn't come from your own brain, but it is coming from, different realms, basically. So, and we can very well function without awakening our third eye, but it is people who have good sense of like judgment or when they are good kind of business people and all, they have some kind of sense where they can invest few things and where they can get the benefit and all. Unknowingly, they are communicating with their sixth chakra. And it is also alerts you if there is going to be any problem going to happen, right? In the sense, like you get that sense that, oh, maybe I should not do that thing. And if you listen to it, you will be saved from disaster happening, basically. Like sometimes you get that feeling.
With no explanation. So in your opinion, is it possible that you could have what modern science would call neuroception, this, that's going to be dangerous. I shouldn't do that. Or intuition or even telepathy. But maybe some of your lower chakras are actually not clear and working. I mean, is it possible that you could have some of the higher ones functioning well, even though the lower ones are still a little bit cloudy?
Yes. And that is also a danger because then you are not grounded enough.
Right.
So you are always in that la-la land and you yourself may not be trusting your intuition or whatever it is because you're not grounded enough.
Or using it incorrectly, using it for evil instead of good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can use it to harm others rather than serve others, or heal others.
Right.
So it's very important. I mean, no chakra is good or bad, right? They all are connected because it's all the whole energy system.
How many petals are the sixth chakra?
Sixth chakra has only 2 petals, which are our 2 physical eyes. So Ajna is also command, where your pituitary gland is also situated, which is the command center of all the glands, basically. Right? So see how appropriate it is. Like it commands, okay, you do this thyroid gland, you do this adrenal gland and all those things. So that command comes from the pituitary gland.
Could you also think of the commands as what should I do in alignment with my dharma or what should I not do?
Yes, of course. That's the intuition, right? That's the vivek we call, the discrimination power. Yeah. So according to this, you need to do this, that, that kind of thing that comes from the Ajna chakra. Basically, intuition, basically the discrimination power, having the desire to have balance. That's why we give command, right? Like, because we want to have balance. We want to have order.
Homeostasis.
Yes, homeostasis. So that's why we have these commands, basically, do this, do that, and don't do whatever it is. So that's the Ajna center. And the color there is indigo, like a midnight blue kind of thing. And a lot of people see that color when they go in deep in the meditation.
Yeah.
You know, that's the sign that your intuition center is being awakened.
Beautiful.
And the final one is the seventh chakra, which is the Sahasrara, it is called, meaning 1,000 petals. And it's really like thousands of neurons come together in the brain. That's just back of your forehead, so to speak. That's the center of your head, basically. We didn't talk about the throat chakra has the element Akasha, which is space, ether, and the heart chakra has the element air. And it is air is related to touch, and Akasha is related to hearing. So when you hear sound, it is related to the space or the ether. The sixth chakra doesn't have any element, physical element, but thought is related to that chakra. And seventh chakra has nothing, it is beyond everything. When you go beyond everything, you reach that level. But the color there is purple. And a lot of people see that color too in their meditation, like reaching that high level. So purple has the highest frequency, vibrational frequency, and the red has the lowest one, right? So that's what it is. And Sahasrara is related to basically going back to the source, the connection, going to the connection. So, but for that, your root chakra has to be stable. Then only you can rise up, right, to go to that level. And it's again, the levels of consciousness are there. So basically, the Drun Valo who does the Merkaba meditations, he said once nicely in one of the meditations, love is the way home. And that's what the Sahasrara tells you, that, you are going back to home through this energy center, but love, only through love. If you can do all kinds of things, you do pranayam, you do asanas, whatever it is. But if you do it devoid of love, you will just remain in the physical realm. So understanding that love is the way home is what the Sahasrara teaches you. That's the connection. Then
I love that you had said that the root chakra needs to be grounded, because I think sometimes we can spiritually bypass into la la land, thinking that we're connecting with the source, and we're not actually embodied.
No, that's why doing your asanas is very important, But if you just keep doing asanas and punishing your body every day by, doing more and more, then you are not loving.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you just do the breath work, or if you just sit for meditation, hey, you cannot even sit for meditation if your body is hurting. Yeah. Or this is happening, that is, your mind is not stable and all those things. So everything is very much related. And that's what the chakra journey is. And if you look at any person as a yoga therapist, then it is easier as a therapist to prescribe the yogic tools to people, right? So that's what I feel, and that's what I've been practicing with the people that I see or work with and so on.
Well, speaking of the people that you work with, if somebody wanted to work with you, I'm bringing up your website now, how could they work with you? What would that look like? Would they sign up on your website? Would they email you and the contact? What would it?
They can email me, and then we can set up a time and we go through some basic kind of understanding of each other. And I ask their permission to get their chakras assessed, and then it just basically conversation and to get to know them better, and then we can come up with some plan.
And Manju, do you work online as well as in person? Because you're in Austin, but not everyone could come and spend time there. Do you do some online work?
Yes, Most of my work is now online, especially after the pandemic. And yeah, so basically to go back to the source, I did a lot of other things. Like I did my nutrition counseling certification, of course, osteopathy and Ayurveda and all those things. So everything, just like chakras, everything is combined, right? You cannot separate one from other. And that's what we do. We look at every angle, basically. Some people need more nutritional kind of support. So we can do that. And some people need more spiritual. So
looking at your website, I see that you have all sorts of different services, from yoga therapy to laughter therapy to Reiki to aromatherapy, holistic nutrition, corporate wellness. You guys are busy.
Well, frankly, I choose who to work with and how much I need to work with, because, I'm not getting younger anymore. So I need to focus on myself. That's self-loving, because there is no end to service. But at the same time, you need to spend time on yourself too, so that you walk the path that you lead, basically. And so I choose my timings. And I spend most of my time in getting back to the source.
Thank you for ending with that, because I think so many of us came from education or healthcare or corporate America, where we're so busy and so distracted and so little self-care. And we take that same mindset into being a yoga teacher or yoga therapist, and it just doesn't work. So,
which is true, I was when we really had a physical yoga center back in New Jersey. And that's when I realized that, you really do need to take care of yourself too.
Beautiful.
So, thank you, Amy, for inviting. I enjoyed the conversation just because I love this topic.
I loved it too. I look at all these notes I took.
Oh my goodness.
I can't help myself, because I want to go and reflect on those and meditate on what you've said. It's important to me, and I'm just so grateful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That means you are paying attention, and that's love.
It is love. It is.
And that's what I try to tell my children also. I mean, they're not children anymore, 27 and 19, but I tell them that, hey, in these small things, try to find the connection to the love. Like if mom does something for you or you do something for me, let's acknowledge. I mean, not all the time, but whenever we can, right? Otherwise, we'll go crazy. Oh, I'm connecting. Not like that. So right here, we are coming closer to the source. Thank you very much. And thank you all for listening. Namaste.
Well, after that wonderful interview, I'm not sure there's much more to say that Manju hasn't already shared with us so brilliantly. I think what we could do now is to reflect, to look at our own bodies and how they're functioning, and where things are maybe not functioning as well, or maybe where things have really begun to function well for us. I think it's a beautiful meditation that she's given us. And, you could even take this podcast into a day-long retreat and play the 5 to 7 minute clip of what she said about, say, the first chakra, and then go meditate on that for some time. Then come back and play what she said about the second chakra and go meditate all the way through. Maybe do some journaling. It could be a really beautiful day-long retreat that you could give to yourself. So that's probably what I'm going to do with this podcast episode. And I hope you will ponder it also deeply. Thank you for being here with us at the Yoga Therapy Hour. And thank you to Manju for being with us today. Please don't forget to sign up for our newsletter mailing list, where we give you a free gift every single week. It's usually something that the guest has been talking about, like a book chapter or an article or an infographic. Check out the show notes for that. Thank you for listening today. Don't forget, we have a new YouTube channel called Optimal State with Amy Wheeler. We also have a new Patreon page where you can support us to bring you the most excellent content, and that is Optimal State and the Yoga Therapy Hour Patreon page. Also, you could write us a review on most major platforms that host podcasts. Give us 5 stars if you appreciate the show and tell us what you love so that we can do more of that. Finally, we support several nonprofit organizations through this podcast. See the show notes to understand how you can help. If you'd like to be a guest or a sponsor for this program, contact us at the email welcome@theoptimalstate.com. welcome@theoptimalstate.com. And finally, a special thank you to our team here at Optimal State. We are truly a global family. George Mantuan, one of our executive producers. Adam Satchel, senior media producer and sound engineer from the Philippines. Krishna Panchal, a producer from Canada. Modupe Abdullahi, who does the show notes and is an editor for us from Nigeria. And Peter Morley, who wrote and produced the music for this show, who lives in Australia. Find more about Peter's work at www.zenmusic.biz. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.